Only Fools and Horses.
Some of you might know, me and Scott always watch Only Fools and Horses. In uni, we watch it all the time, and we always quote it, and we really, really love it.
Exactly.
And so we decided to do this video.
How the hell are we going to do, like, a top 10? How the hell can we do it? It's like, with some shows, it's easy. It's like, you could say your top 5 episodes, or you could even say your top 10, 15.
Yeah.
But with this, it's like, there's not a bad episode.
Exactly, and there's so many episodes, and they're so equally on par with each other.
Exactly.
It was really hard.
I'm going to make a little side note. Yuppie Love is not going to be on this list.
People might want the Yuppie Love on the list because it has probably the most iconic moment in the whole series.
Yeah.
And that's Dell Boy falling through the bar.
Play it nice and cool, son. Nice and cool, you know what I mean?
But unfortunately we haven't got it on our list, but it's worth a mention.
Without further ado, let's dive into Scott and Dan's top 10 favourite Only Fools and Horses episodes.
Right, 10 episodes, you're on.
Alright.
Alright.
Right.
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 Stick a pony in me pocket. I'll fetch the suitcase from the van.
You are the guest of this video. Do you want to start off by introducing why you think It Never Rains is top 10?
I shall. I like this episode because it's the first time we see a change of scenery from the flat, from the Nag's Head, etc. And it's a good holiday story. And it's one of my early favourite Dell, Granddad, Rodney stories. And more importantly, it gives us an insight of what Granddad got up to in his life. Obviously, we hear about Uncle Albert's war stories, but we don't actually see or hear about what Granddad got up to. And he ended up getting caught in the Spanish Civil War.
I agree with you on that point because, like, it just takes you away from Peckham because that's the thing. Like, we'd seen them in the flat, we'd seen them in the Nag's Head. Yeah, we'd seen them go to, like, some other places, but, like, I think going abroad really took it to that next level. It's like, okay, this feels fresh. Yeah. And it was on the second series, I believe.
Yeah, second series.
So it's like, you're probably, like, 15 episodes in. It's like, okay, we've seen all the same stuff. So this was a real good, fresh episode for us, and I just love that montage.
Yeah, or the start at the start, yeah.
Yeah, I love the staggered feel to it because, like, it adds more of that comedy flavour to it as well. And then it just finishes off with, like, Dell and Rodney have pulled 2 birds. They're back in the apartment, and then their faces just drop because, like, Granddad's teeth are in a glass. And that's the thing, Rodney said that was going to happen, and it happened. And we still laugh at it.
And there's really a lot of quotable moments as well. Like, you mean you were gun running in the middle of a civil war?
Well, it was the best time to do it, Rodney.
Supply and demand. My favourite line was probably where Rodney says to the police guard, I don't think you're getting Gibraltar back because of this. And I think it's because there's a lot of tension between Britain and Spain over the control of Gibraltar, and I think it was just a good political line.
We're going to be talking about John Sullivan a lot in this video because, like, his writing was just genius. Yeah. Like, God rest his soul, but you know.
We're reviewing Only Fools and Horses, not Gavin and Stacey.
Sorry, Bryn. They do tackle politics and history really well in this show, just overall, not just this episode.
Exactly. And It Never Rains deserves top 10 spot.
And guess where we were?
Spain.
No, Tangier.
Stick a pony in me pocket.
No, this is an episode that everyone was expecting to be, like, in the top 3 or even number 1 because, like, you see so many top 10 lists and the Jolly Boys outing is number 1. And I would agree, but there's, like, just where can we put it on this list? It's got so many memorable moments. Like It Never Rains, it's a completely different scenario. You've got all your favourite characters. So many great lines.
Yeah.
One thing I really like about this episode is the fact we get to see Raquel again.
Yeah.
Because obviously the first time we saw Raquel Turner come into Only Fools and Horses was through the Christmas special dates. And then Series 6 came after it, so then we obviously saw the whole chemistry between Rodney and Cassandra. But then it was like, oh, Dell's kind of left out sort of thing. Just by fate, he would come back into it. And it's good that she became a reoccurring character.
Yeah. And it's a good ensemble episode as well. You've got literally all of the characters there. Boise, Mickey Pierce, Trigger. But one thing I like about it is it gives a chance for Alan, Cassandra's dad, to join the lads. And I think
exactly. That is a good idea because, like, literally, before this episode, I would have never pictured Alan with this group of people. But then when he's just roped into it, like at the dinner party, it's like, oh, I'll make sure he's all right. But then
And he becomes one of them.
Exactly, and it's the scene of the bus. You think, lock up your daughters. You're right, Alan.
Good, thank you, Rodney.
He feels so awkward there, but like you say, he becomes one of the group, and he's kind of like the older father there to look out for him. Yeah. And like obviously when the whole bus blows up, that is just the episode worthy of.
I think that's probably what people remember the episode for, is the bus blowing up and stuff.
I just remember it because Trigger lost his dolphin.
That's probably my favourite line. Like, and I lost my dolphin.
It's just like, it's like so out of the blue, but it's just like, it's so great.
I like the bit at the end actually where Rodney comes home to Cassandra and he sees Stephen there and he thinks maybe like they're having a bit of a thing. Yeah. So Rodney ends up punching him. It's just the best bit where he goes, now you know where I'm coming from. Okay, buddy.
That's the thing, he's trying to be so macho, and then what comes next, he's just so... Yeah. It's like, they brought this holiday brochure around, remember? It's like, did you see anything you like? Definitely one of the all-time classics, and it had to be on this list no matter where it was.
Definitely.
Stick a pony in
We have The Longest Night. I like this episode purely for the fact because it has the line, You are Wally Lennox. It's where, of course, they get trapped overnight in the store.
Yeah.
It has so many good moments, probably most notable, where Rodney looks as if he's going to grab the gun from the guy who's keeping him hostage, but actually grabs the cigarettes.
There's a film called Phone Booth. It just takes place literally in a phone booth. It's not a bad film, but it's like, you think, how could somebody do a situation like that and keep you engaged?
Yeah.
But like with this, like they're restricted to this room, but it's still funny. There's still possibilities with it, and obviously the other three characters who have been introduced are still as enjoyable as the main three.
And there is a good twist at the end where you find out that actually the security is in on it as well.
Exactly. It's got a good conspiracy, and like even the reveal of that is funny, and then. I can't remember the line exactly. It's like, "And Buzzy Monbell, would you, Adam and Eve, Dixon Lumper is involved." Played by Jim Brannan.
Yeah, exactly. The guy who's got a good cameo from the guy who played Jim in EastEnders.
Exactly. Well, so. Another side note as well, in Jolly Boy's Outing, Max Branning makes a young appearance. I think that must have been like his debut.
Probably.
Maybe the Brannings from EastEnders lived in Peckham before they actually moved to Walford. I don't know, maybe.
And I also like the Shadow.
The Shadow. Bet Hank Marvin said of it, wouldn't he?
But yeah, it's just a good, funny episode.
It's just so enjoyable. Like, I've watched this time and time again, and it's one we always quote. And fun story for you, when we went to Vancouver, Canada, back in our second year, there was a pub literally called the Lennox Pub, and literally this photo is just showing us how happy we are. Loving that cowboy hat.
We literally saw it, didn't we? It was like, we cannot go to Canada and not go to this pub.
Exactly. Like, we passed it so many times, didn't we? But it was like, no, we gotta go this. And I'm sure we were referencing it, and like they didn't get it, but it's like, we know what we're talking about.
You are a Wally Lennox.
How are we doing for time?
Oh, it's 5:15.
No, it's 1:30.
Bloody watch.
Stick a pony in me.
How could we leave this episode off the list? Like, we couldn't.
Yeah, people would rip us apart if we didn't have this episode. I like it because it's another one of the early Dell Granddad Rodney stories, and it's a good classic Dell money making scheme.
Exactly, and that's the thing, because I think with this episode, like, because he starts off like talking about after they've gone to the boot sale, innit?
Yeah.
They just like think it's like, well, how can Dell outdo himself? Like, we've seen all sorts of schemes we've done from him, and he's mentioned it, he's talked about it, and we've seen it in action. But to get into like a royal household and somehow convince them to let him repair a chandelier is like, Dell, you've just stepped it up another gear. Yeah. It's like, and you think, it's like, how the hell does he keep doing it?
Well, it's Dell Boy, innit? He dares, wins. It's good because, like, you don't see the other chandelier, do you? And it finally...
That's very true.
I like it when it happens and then Granddad comes down and he's like, well, I wish you'd said something.
Because I was working on this one. It's a moment you know that's coming, like the tension when he's unwinding that screw, and then it's like, brace yourself, Rodney. Yeah. Brace yourself. It's like, you know it's going to happen, like, smash, and then laughter. And like, because I was watching it the other day, just to like, because we were still trying to decide on this list, I was laughing as much as I did the first time I saw it. I've seen it 100 times.
You hit it 100 times and you still laugh.
Yeah, and it's like, you keep telling yourself, it's like, right, I'm not going to laugh this time, but it's like, you just can't help it. It's just so classic.
A good bit of trivia as well, when they were filming that episode, they were told by John Sullivan, like, if you laugh,
we've lost the shot.
Because they could only afford it to do it once.
Yeah.
And he said, you're fired if you laugh in the take.
You're fired.
You're fired. So they had to hold the shot, and like I think Nick Lynn
he was like holding his breath. He's like,
see David Jason's shoulders doing that.
Yeah.
And then they yelled cut, and they just burst into laugh.
Luckily, they didn't do any close-ups or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literally, they had to hold on that. But it just worked, and just seeing them come down from the stairs with devastation, it's like, I think he was working on the wrong one. How can you tell? We are putting some of the fan favourites in. Yeah, exactly. See, so stop complaining.
Do you think the chandelier was valuable?
Probably not. But it was bleeding priceless when it was hanging up there, though. This isn't the Chris Tarrant game show before anyone gets too excited, although there is the option to phone a friend, ask the audience, or 50-50. By 50-50, you can get rid of one of us.
Alright then, Scott, go on. Get out.
It's alright.
Now it becomes the Dan Show.
And he wanted me back because he couldn't hold the show on his own. We know it's not a classic episode. We know it's not something that people rush to. It's not like Touch of Glass with the chandelier. When you know the backstory of what went into it, and also it has a great Rodney and Dell scene.
Yeah. Basically, it's Dell's old school friend or something.
Yeah, I think it's like business partner.
Yeah, business partner. Comes back from Australia and offers Dell the chance of a lifetime to go to Australia, work with him in his car dealership business.
Yeah.
And it's a good opportunity for, obviously, Dell to finally become a millionaire. When you're watching the series throughout, you kind of will them to become millionaires.
Yeah.
But I think as you're watching the episodes, it's like, well, you kind of want them to stay in Peckham as well, so...
That's the thing, innit? Because, like, we've talked about it before, like, we know how crafty Dell is, we know... Rodney can be a bit of a hypocrite sometimes, and it shows, like, throughout all of the series, but at the end of the day, they've got a goal, and they are determined to make it, and that's why you root for them. That scene takes place in the flat, where, like, Rodney gets his visa refused because of the whole... marijuana situation. Rodney's visa gets turned down. Dell still contemplates going, but Rodney's almost pleading with Dell. You're my brother. You brought me up. It's like, and when the recession gets tough, like they come to blokes like us.
Yeah, exactly, and it's really good acting from both actors, and it's probably one of my favourite Dell and Rodney scenes.
Like I made the point as well. Like we were originally going to put the episode with Granddad's funeral in this because of that whole monologue with David Jason where he's like saying like he doesn't know how to get over it. But this scene, it's a balanced confrontation because like, and we see Rodney's appeal, we see Dell's side of the thing. It's a really well balanced episode.
What makes the us put the episode on this list is what actually happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
This episode was actually meant to be the last ever episode of Only Fools and Horses because David Jason didn't want to do anymore.
We would have had 5 series of like great episodes, but we would not have seen any of the other classics like that would have came after, like series 7, series 6. Cassandra would never have come into it. Raquel would never have come into it.
It makes you think of what would have happened if they had finished.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. It's like, what would have the careers been like? What would have David Jason done afterwards? Maybe he would have gone back to work at Danger Mouse, but you know. Good show, I'm not knocking it. This episode has to be on the list, just for that reason alone. This is the episode where we finally get to see the debut of Jim Broadbent, who would play the on and off character Roy Slater, who is working in the police force, and of course the arch nemesis of Dell Boy. This is a good episode in terms of like the fact you get to see some of your favourite characters like Boise, Trigger, Rodney, Dell, Granddad, all that sort of thing. But it's really interesting because you actually see them afraid for once.
Yeah.
Because like when Roy comes in and like he only says like Trigger like really enthusiastically, and you think, okay, this guy seems alright, and then Trigger's just like, oh.
As soon as they see him, it's like, wait, this character's not a good character.
Shit.
Roy Slater coming back to find a microwave thief.
Yep, microwave thief. That's
And he has
brilliant.
reason to believe that Dell, Rodney, and Granddad is behind it, and they get arrested. And I like the bit, probably the best bit is where
the interrogation,
the interrogation where they have to...
They've got to give different character descriptions of what this thief was, but because none of them have talked about it before, you get like cut to cut. The best one is when they're talking about the ethnicity of the character. It's like, what about his ethnic group?
Well, I didn't notice anyone with him.
No, I mean, was he Caucasian? Oh no, he was a white fella.
He was African, I think. And when you see the Trotters get arrested, you think, oh shit, the Dell's now got to try and find a way out of it.
Exactly. Again, it's another situation where you think, oh, how are they going to get out of this one? And it's like, but I think near the end of the episode, it's like, this is probably one of the first times we've seen Dell pinned up against a wall mentally. Because, like, literally, the only way he can get out is by telling the police what they want to know. There's loads of funny moments in this, and even Roy has a lot of funny moments in it, like the delivery of it. And I love how methodical he is, because even when he gets into the flat, think about it, like, he doesn't bring up to Rodney. He takes advantage of how naive he is. It's like, he doesn't mention, like, obviously he mentioned that he went to school with him, but he doesn't talk about what he does. And then when he gets into the flat, Dell's reaction, just dropping that tray, is like, shit.
Yeah.
Good tactician. Very good tactician is Roy Slater.
And you see that when, throughout all the episodes, actually, that Slater's in, and he is a good tactician. He's quite, manipulative and stuff. So.
And that's the thing, he's only in 3 episodes through the entire, like what, 20 odd years of the series.
Yeah, and probably the best thing is, to sum up the episode, is what happens at the end when Dell gets an immunity from prosecution, basically.
Yes.
He can't be prosecuted for it. So he's like, right, for the third and final time, who nicked the microwave? And he just holds up the thing and just goes,
I did. And then there's like Roy's face is like, he thinks he's going to nick him, Zach.
Yeah. And once again, it's just pure genius from John Sullivan to make that happen.
Again, he's great at swerving you, because like you think it's going to go one way, you think how's he going to get out of this, and Sullivan just wrote, he wrote his way out of a room with no doors.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole concept of the episode, Roy Slater has organised a school reunion for the class of '62. This is the best episode because it shows again why he's such a good tactician, because like he plays on your emotions, he plays on the events of his father dying, of his mother not speaking to him, of him being in prison, with his marriage crumbling, but then you start to think, okay, I can take a liking to you, like you think. It's like when everyone starts like not crumbling, that's the wrong word, but when they start coming together and having drinks, having a laugh, you think, okay, he made some bad mistakes, but...
You do think as a viewer, oh, he has really changed, and you would say, yeah, I'd go for a drink with him.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's John Sullivan's great writing that swerves you, because, and this is something I was mentioned to you a couple of days ago, Sullivan left hints. He left hints that Slater could have been Raquel's husband, but they weren't like spoon-feeding you, like saying, oh, it's so obvious that Slater's the husband, but it's just little things. It's like Raquel said her ex-husband was a police officer. They mention how he went to prison, so it's like you could put 2 and 2 together, but because it's so subtle, you just don't think about it, and then when it finally happens, like, why did I not think of it? Then obviously when Raquel comes into it later on, it's just like, okay.
You said you were going to protect me from my husband, and Dad's like, yeah, I am. It's like,
now what's he doing sitting in the front room? Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I love how they skim over that bit. It's like, what's he doing in the front room? It's like, oh, hold on, go back.
Yeah,
what?
Exactly.
Say it again. This episode does have a lot of funny moments. Like when they're at the reunion, they're talking about their old headmaster. Yeah. It's like he didn't have a scar running down like from his eye down to the side of his neck. And it's like his left ear was missing. No, not that I remember. It's like, oh, so it's not our old headmaster then.
Yeah. I like the bit where Rodney's saying, on a cold winter's night, somebody somewhere has arranged for you all of you to be in this room. Now, who would do a thing like that? Jeremy Beadle?
Jeremy bloody Beadle! Overall, this is our favourite Roy Slater episode because, like we said, it shows how good of a character he is. We see all the fan favourites, Boise, Trigger, Denzel, all of the favourites, and it's really good for Raquel as well, I find. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's obviously, she's pregnant at the time, she's been saying about her husband, she wants to divorce, and then finally coming face to face with Slater, it's like...
Yeah. And I think with this episode you realise how much of a character that Raquel is and how likeable she is, especially for her circumstances.
Yeah.
Stick a pony in.
Strangers on the Shore at number 3. I personally like this one for a couple of reasons, actually. It's a good adventure episode. Obviously, Dell and Rodney go to France for Uncle Albert's reunion.
Yeah, like the tribute to the troops sort of thing, you know.
So it's a good adventure episode. It's a good tribute as well to Uncle Albert.
It's a really, really nice send-off. Like, even though we did get the funeral in, if they could see us now in the previous episode, but like you say, when they scatter the ashes at sea, it's just a nice little touch, isn't it?
It's a good send-off for Uncle Albert. And secondly, on a personal note as well, I remember when I was on holiday in Spain, seeing my mum. We obviously sat down for lunch and put the telly on, and this episode was on. And we sat and watched it and had lunch. Had pizza for lunch.
Fun fact.
So ever since I've kind of really liked this episode, that's why I wanted it in the top 3.
This was like one of the first episodes I remember watching all the way through and just enjoying every minute of it. And it's, like you say, it's got so many good factors. It's a good tribute to Buster Merrifield. It's got good appearances from all your favourite characters. And it puts Dell and Rodney again in a unique situation.
And of course it has a really good funny moment as well when they obviously have Denzel's lorry.
Yes, of course.
They bring a load of alcohol back. And they ended up bringing back an illegal immigrant, otherwise known as...
Got it!
So if it wasn't for this episode, we wouldn't have had Gary.
Exactly. If it had finished back in that episode in Series 5, Gary would not exist. Exactly. He probably would have just gone straight into EastEnders, like he did. Again, EastEnders! What is it, Peckham, Walford? They must be near or cousins or something.
And it's just a classic episode, even if you're not a fan.
Can you smell onions?
Shut up.
Stick a pony in me pocket.
Every time I hear the phrase chain gang, I literally just think of... Dan, do you want to give the description? Or?
Yeah, basically it features all of the cast and they meet this guy called Arnie. Who's selling a load of chains. He offers them a chance to, obviously, if they put money in, they sell them on, and then they can basically just double their money.
Arnie seems like a really stand-up guy. Like, at the beginning you find out he had a health condition that was shortening his life, but like obviously he stopped drinking. He's gambling less, like obviously he's in the casino, but he's not gambling as much, like he knows his limits.
They meet at the cafe, don't they?
Yeah, something like that. It's what it is, like they basically make up that he was supposed to sell the chains beforehand, but like the buyer backed out and never got back to him. And then once the deal is done, they make out that this Mr. Stavros, is it?
Yes.
Spanish, Mr. Stavros, a little bit of thing. Sorry, just re-jogging my memory. They go to the cafe to get the meeting so that Arnie can sell the chains for Dell and the gang.
Yeah.
And then the heart attack.
Yeah, and Arnie has a heart attack, and obviously calls the ambulance. And then you got the bit where Dell and Boise are just looking on in the cafe.
It's like, I am an officer of the law. It's like, you're a bit short, aren't you? I'm a small town policeman.
Arnie goes in the ambulance, but the ambulance is actually driven by his sons.
Yeah.
And basically, Arnie have conned the guys. And actually given them his money, and then he's going to walk away with the money. And
exactly, and like, and we're all in the same boat as everyone else because they conned us. We thought Arnie had actually died, and it's like the guys had been left with nothing, and they lost the chains, they lost the money, they've lost everything. Yeah. And then obviously later on, when like we find out it's all a con, we feel conned. Yeah. We see Cassandra again, and like they develop the chemistry between her and Rodney, and I think in this episode you start to establish that she's a bit of a bitch.
Yeah, she's quite an annoying character.
She's an annoying character,
if you think about it.
But it's like, obviously, like you could see what the face value is. It's like, oh, she's a sweet girl, she's been brought up right, all that sort of stuff. But then it's the lying. I know she's probably interpreting this as a joke, but when she says, like, if someone were to walk in with a Mercedes and lots of money, I'd say, ciao, Rodney, see you around. And she says, like, but until that happens, I'm happy to plod along with you. I'm like, yeah, fucking what?
There's some really good, funny and favourite moments in it.
Yeah.
Most notably where they're trying to find... his
which
wife.
hospital
Which
it
hospital
is.
it is, yeah.
They like think of so many different ways. Like they try to find out his casino membership, but he wasn't a member. Then what is it? The
on the town registry.
town registry. Yes, that's the one. And then what happens is Rodney basically comes up with a pen. It's like, I'll run down there now. It's like, right, Arnie what?
I didn't have his surname.
Oh,
Well, does it matter?
of course it matters. It's not going to be on the register as Arnie and Pat, are they? Oh, it just comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, what?
You probably won't think it's a funny line, but there's the way he says it.
Yeah,
and
like
delivers it is really
that's
funny.
the thing. The delivery and the pacing between all the actors. That's what makes the lines just so memorable. And Trigger said that he pawned his grandmother's necklace, and then like Dell says like, "I'm sorry about the necklace, Trig," and it's like, "It's all right." She doesn't know she's pawned it, yeah? It's like, well, okay. Keep an open mind about the next episode. This is an episode that we have for sentimental values and personal reasons. So, keep an open mind. Dan, are you ready for this?
I'm totes ready.
I'm in with you, mate. Let's do this.
Stick a pony in me.
Let us explain why we think this is the best episode.
I like it because it's well written. Like it's supposed to be like a parody of a horror film.
Yes.
And it kind of makes you wonder what would happen if the Trotters were in a horror film.
Exactly, yeah.
So it would still be classic Trotter funniness.
Yeah, because they poke fun at loads of the cliches. It's like when like the axe murderer is at the window, they play on that cliche. 1 minute he's there, then he's not. They make fun of that. They make fun of the idea. It's like, oh, what if the murderer is upstairs or in the house? Yeah. Dell makes fun of it. They make fun of so many tropes that horror films are just filled with.
And in a sense, you kind of do it. You are scared of it, obviously, when you when even like the first copper, where they say, where he says, there's a nutter on the loose.
Exactly.
Oh, maybe we should turn around. And you kind of do get scared for them.
Even though the copper, like, he does that bit really well. It's meant to be comedic, which it is, but he plays it so serious, you kind of can't help it. It's like, this is a bit scary, like, because of just the way it is, but it's still so funny. It is scary, the fact they play Monopoly.
Yes, they play Monopoly. It's like, remember when we were in uni in that second year and we played Monopoly?
Yes.
And we said that because wasn't Josh and his girlfriend?
Yeah, at that time they they wanted something from us, but we wanted something from them, and they said a price. I think it was like £1,200, and then we said the following line: £1,200 for an hotel next to a smelly old waterworks. All them sewers. I'd rather sleep in the car or find a bed and breakfast. Yeah, we know this show inside out. We've seen it,
especially this episode as well. That's why we've chosen it as our number one.
Exactly. It's full of comedy, and even though it's not full of like the fan favourites, it mainly consists just of Dell, Rodney, Granddad. Even the copper's brilliant in this. Like, he comes in like you don't suspect anything, and then when it turns out that he's the murderer, it's like classic trope, and they're poking fun of it.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a great bit at the end where they play imaginary snooker.
Yes.
I hate to lose.
I love losing.
And again, Dell finds a way of making money out of it. Because
exactly.
The guy doesn't want to lose. So
even at the point where Dell is like facing death, being murdered or bludgeoned over the head with an axe,
he still tries to get some money, doesn't he?
Exactly. And what does he say? He says something that's like, well, maybe this might not be a blinding weekend after all.
Exactly. £10 a frame. So
yeah. And it's at the end where he just like uses the imaginary chalk and it's the sound effect. It's like, This was the first ever episode I watched of Only Fools and Horses. Like, I remember I was 6 years old. I came down. I heard my mother laughing hysterically at it. Watched it, and I just fell in love with the series. So this episode is what got me started. It's short, it's sweet, it's funny, and
it's a good, like I said, like I've been referring to the whole video, it's a good Dell Granddad Rodney caper.
Why do only fools and horses work a la la la?
So as we said earlier, there's no really bad episode. They're all on par with each other, but each one is so rememberable, and and the fact that people are still quoting it, watching it,
and the fact that theme pubs, it's like it's all over the world, and like people have done so many remakes of this. Like Portugal have done it, Spain have done it, I'm sure France have done it. Loads of countries are remaking this series because of how iconic the characters are, the situations are, and all over the world. People love it.
Just thank God the Americans haven't done it.
Oh God! Like after what they did to the In-Betweeners, as long as we don't see that, I'm happy. Nothing against Americans, but just leave the British TV alone, please. Only Fools and Horses is and will always be my favourite TV show of all time.
And mine.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, everyone. I've been Scott. You know what, Dan? You're the guest of this show, so why don't you close up this video?
Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. I've been Daniel Sean. This is Scott Anthony, and if you like, comment, and subscribe, who knows? This time next year, we'll be millionaires.
Let's hope we can reach that benchmark.
It's great, isn't it? Hello! Hang it up!
No income tax, no VAT, no money back, no guarantee. Black or white, rich or poor, we'll cut prices